What's up, my friends? It's Bible Bites, Bible truth, line by line in context in 5-minute lessons. We're starting with Romans 1:8, and we're going to make our way through the book eventually. Let's go. All right, Romans 1:8. I want you to notice Paul thanks God the Father through Jesus Christ. So I have a question. Why does Paul go through Jesus to thank God? Are we not allowed to go to God directly? Is there some barrier that blocks us from the Father? Look at this too. Paul is thankful of the Roman Church's world-renowned faith. Now, remember, as apostles, they are to deliver messages of faith in all nations. And the mission is spreading the gospel, so Paul would definitely be happy the gospel of God is reaching many people. Okay? Romans 1:9. So in Romans 1:7, going back, Paul purposefully separates Jesus as Lord and the Father as God. Now, we see in Romans 1:9 that the gospel of God is referenced as the gospel of his Son. Okay? Same gospel, same message, different names. Okay? Same thing. So keep that in your head. The gospel of God is now the gospel of his Son. We also see that by the gospel of his Son, Paul serves God. But remember, in Romans 1:1, Paul says he serves Jesus through the gospel. Notice that Paul serves God with his Spirit now. There's a question there I want to tackle real fast. How do you serve with your spirit? I don't know. We're going to keep a lookout. I have another question. If Jesus was different from us because he was born by the Spirit of God and a mortal woman, whereas me and you, we have a father and a mother who are both mortal human beings, then what spirit is Paul using to serve God? Finally, Paul mentions that he constantly prays for the Roman church. Now, that seems unimportant, but notice in Romans 1:8, it tells us that Paul thanks God through Christ for the world-renowned faith of the church. Paul, it seems like, humbly, is telling them that his prayers to God about them are answered prayers. Praying is not passive or without effect. It's real. But notice the result of his prayer is a growth of faith in the world. It does not appear Paul's prayers are personally directed in nature. Again, this is not fully from Scripture. This is something that seems to be an indication, right, that Paul is praying for this church, and those prayers are being answered in world-renowned faith, okay? That's just an indication. I'm not saying that's scriptural, but just keep it in your head, all right? These are contexts that God is giving to us, all right? So we just want to hold on to them. All right, now question. If Paul makes mention of them unceasingly, and the result is world-renowned faith, is there a correlation between the amount of prayer, if serving or praying in the Spirit, is there a correlation between the amount of prayer and the manifestation of those prayers? Be interesting, right? Something to think about. But anyway, let's keep going, all right? Time's ticking. Romans 1:10. Paul shows us a glimpse of his prayer life. Now, we already saw he thanks God through Jesus Christ. And then we see that his prayers are in part outwardly focused. They're not personal. And we see that they manifest as glory for God. I use the word glory. We haven't defined it, but just bear with me, okay? And we see that his prayers are constant. But now we see internal or personally directed prayers. But I kind of question that. Are they really? So Paul requests an opportunity to see the Roman church in person. That's personal, right? He asks for a prosperous journey. That's personal. But then he says only if it's the will of God. Interesting. Romans 1:11. Let's continue. Paul longs to see these people in the Roman church. Why? He says he wants to give them a spiritual gift, a gift which will make them secure, unshakable, permanent. That's the definition of established. He wants to make them established, all right? Romans 1:12. Let's continue. Paul wanted this gift to establish the saints of Rome. So that they could find comfort together in their mutually unshakable faiths. So let's recap real fast because I'm hitting 5 minutes. All right, recap. Romans 1, 8 through 12. Paul's prayers seek the will of God to be done. Paul's prayers are thankful to God through Christ. They are constant. They seek to bring God glory. They seek the betterment of others through God, and they seek fellowship with other believers. That's pretty daggone interesting. I'm going to have to think about that, guys. But what do you think? Drop it in the comments. Continue with me. We're going on a journey, guys. We're looking in Romans. I have this burning desire to look in Romans to find out how to be obedient to the Father, because that's what I'm missing in my life. Full on obedience, and I want it. All right, guys. We're going to pick up with Romans 1:13 next time, and I will talk to you then. Stay with God. Love you. Later.